name is Yeraldin Acosta. I am from the University of Costa Rica. Specifically, I work for the program for assessment, language assessment of the University of Costa Rica. And today, I brought the presentation from theory to platform, lessons learned from an English test for young learners. So, I have to say a lot of things in a short time, so if I'm speaking too fast, just let me know. Okay, I'm gonna try my best. We are going to start, since it's from theory to platform, first we are going to start with everything that was done, at least in general terms, for the instrument design. And for this, we need to understand the context of the test. I want the two perspectives here because it's a linear process, but it is a process that comes and goes and changes and evolves every time. So first, this test was developed as to meet a significant need of our country. In 2015, there was a change in the programs of English education for elementary school and high school. So by 2020, most students would be close to finish or finishing the first generation of these people who studied with the new program. So the stakeholders, which are the Ministry of Education, I'll call them MEP, asked us to develop something for this population. Why? Because there were options in the market which were a little bit expensive, and also because they were not very representative of our context. To the point that, for example, one of the tasks is talking about camping, like a summer camp. We don't have that in Costa Rica, so we wanted something significant. So they asked us to help them design an instrument for assessing diagnostic tests for their students. So the target populations, we had students from 10 to 12 years old were chosen to be the ones taking this exam. We had the expected ability of the CFAIR of pre-A1 to A2. Why the CFAIR? Because the new programs that they developed are aligned to the CFAIR standards. Pre-A1 is for first grade, second grade, third grade is pre-A1 plus, right? And for fourth grade up to sixth grade, which is the elementary school, they should be developing their A2 ability. So the outcome is expected to be A2. Then what was desired from this test? It's not just a diagnostic test. You are teachers. You know that assessment has an impact. And in this case, students, parents, teachers, and the educative system would have benefits because they would get the information, the clear mapping of where their students or where their kids were in order to make decisions for the futures. Decisions like parents taking extra courses or extra classes afterwards, or teachers changing their teaching methods or strategies or focusing on the topics that they felt were not as strong as desired, or the system in general, MEP, creating workshops or trainings for teachers to compensate certain lacks at the end of the educative system, first grade to sixth grade. So also we had to work in accessibility. Why? Because there are at least 18 different curricular adjustments for every test that is designed for a national level in Costa Rica, and we have to adapt to all of them. So we had meetings also with the experts of this area in MEP in order to have a test that was not only attractive, accessible in terms of economical aspects, but also in terms of everybody that wants to take the test could be able to take it. So taking this into account, we started with the test development. We started in 2019 with this, and of course, things changed in 2020. However, this is the main process that we had. First, we started with a theoretical basis in order to see what the perfect characteristics of a standardized online English test for young learners would be like. So we also studied this from the perspective of what is done outside the country and also what is expected from the program that was developed for students in elementary school. We got information from the stakeholders. MEP said, we want this, and that, and we had to adapt it. Afterward, they gave us a list of teachers randomly chosen from all over the country, and they filled out a survey to identify what the perfect characteristics of the test were. Because of course we had a lot of theory, and they like the theory sometimes says this or that, but we needed to know what was the reality in the classroom. So this is what happened with these teachers. They gave us all the information. It was a very long survey. They were very nice, and because I think that they spent like 30 minutes or so filling that up, and we identified the perfect characteristics for the English test in Costa Rica, right? So then I was in charge of designing the item specifications. So it has the specifications in terms of format, in terms of what the CIFER says per level, and also in terms of what the MEP expected, with all the grammar and vocabulary, specific words, specific grammar structures that should be used according to each level or each item that was expected. So when we got those test specifications, we went up with the items developers, which were the best teachers of the country. Why do you know they are the best? Because MEP said, these are the best teachers of the country. They are going to design the items. So we said, welcome. And we trained them on how to create items for standardized assessment, right? Then we had the test assembly, which was from telling people from the School of Modern Languages, you're a parent, right? You have a child. Please lend him to me or lend her to me, because we needed audios. And the audios we didn't want to use, well, there was no artificial intelligence when we were doing this, but we didn't want to use adults. It was a test for kids, so kids were the ones talking in the audios. So all the audios that we have for this test are whether two kids talking, a kid talking by himself or herself, or a kid talking to an adult. Okay, so that was something that we wanted. We also wanted to use, instead of using Washington, that's something that or London, that are the countries or the places that they usually mention in the listening exercise. They mention Cartago and Alajuela because are the provinces that we have in our country. We had the test piloting. This has like too many branches. We'll see them later. And also we had some results, discussions. Based on the results we got, we said like, okay, this is working very well. This is not working at all. Eliminate that. Let's go again. What are we going to get? And then after that, we have a test application and also development of new sections. So I'm going to try to be specific on the different sections. Just in general terms, I'm going to talk about the construct for the listening part. So the construct for the listening is language domain in the listening comprehension skill is understood as demonstrating understanding of different oral texts in general English about varied context in a regional and global level, formal as well as informal, in the transactional, personal, and educational domains of the CIFER for the second cycle population of Costa Rican educative system. So here, most of the things or the skills that are expected from our students is understanding sentences, basic information, personal communication, conversations, activities, instructions, right? It's elementary school, so it's usually something simple. For the reading, it's very similar, so in this case, the difference is that they are going to be showing understanding of different reading texts, right? Images, which is one of the results that we saw, literature and teachers agreed that one of the most, if not the most important aspect that every item should have was a representative image. And that's why the images are not taken from the internet. They are generated based on the description of what the item designer wants to be shown, because it has to be representative of the culture. And again, they go for the same domains, and the first same types of regional and global levels. And here we have decoding words, letter and sounds, because remember that we are dealing with pre-A1 as well, so they need to know how to read certain sounds. We also have a text with repetitive patterns, daily events, they have reading stories, etc. So this is like a little bit more specific. So what is the test structure? Well, originally we had an online version. One of the things that we learned was that just having an online version of the test was limiting the reach, how much we can reach of the population. In Costa Rica, probably like many Latin American countries, we have places in which you can access only if you go by horse for a couple of days. So if we had an online test for communities that are indigenous, we were not going to have the test for everybody, and that wouldn't be fair. So we have a very intelligent team, and we have 3 formats for the test. We have the online version. You have, your internet connection is good. Online version is the best for you. If you don't have internet connection at all, so you have the offline version. So yes, we took computers on the horses, and we went to those places so that those students could actually take the test. And also we have the wonderful and the most convenient one, which is the hybrid version. This is just like a program that you installed in your computer, and when the students complete the exam, whenever it says like, oh, there's internet here, it sends us the results. So that is very convenient because it doesn't require an extra person that sends the result, as with the offline version. So we have 40 items per level. So it will be pre-A1 is 10, A1 10, and for A2 is 20. It's wonderful because it encourages students' autonomy. Every student takes the exam at their own pace. We recommend to start with reading, but they can start with reading, they can start with listening, and they don't need to take the exam together. They complete it as they want. Also, we have multiple choice exercises, drag and drop, matching at drop-down lists. We have or made sure that we have the authenticity, because MEP gave us the standards. We follow the standards of MEP, and they gave us the item designers, which were working for MEP at that time, right? Also, we have 3 filters. So these are 3 people that pay attention to format, level appropriateness, language, and how natural they are as communicative tasks in the English language. One of those 3 filters is a native speaker of English, so she can tell us, yes, this is a natural conversation that could happen in a natural environment. So I'm speaking too fast. Okay, so let's talk a little bit of the piloting and application. So because 2020 happened, the idea was to have the piloting in 2020. I don't have to explain what happened that year because you know. So 2020 was the year of making informal pilotings. So I got my nephews and other people's nephews and children taking the exam. That's when they told us we used to have 60 items. They said, like, you're true. No, this is too bad. This is too boring. So we made changes, and the first piloting exercise was in 2021. In May, we did it just with 5 schools that were conveniently chosen. How convenient, because we could go and see how they applied the test. After that, we had on September 2017, 771 students taking the test. One important aspect of this test is that it's not obligatory. We tell parents, like the elementary schools, the teachers, and students who want to take the test are the ones that take it. Okay? They would say, but then you're going to have a smaller sample. But it looks like it became popular over the years because our test doesn't look like a test. It looks like a game. So what happened was that those students who took the exam in 2021 told the other ones about the exam, and they were like, I want to take it. At that time, we couldn't allow them to take it because they were not part of the original list. So they waited 1 year to be able to take the exam. And then the sample became huge. So in September of 2021, we have students from 5th grade and 6th grade. 6th grade, they finish elementary school, they go to high school. However, those who were in 5th grade took the exam again in 6th grade with a couple of extra ones to see if the results were constant, right? So in 2022, we had the second piloting exercise. Why second? Because we had to change a lot of things. And we have 3,951 students for the 5th grade and 3,421 students for the 6th grade. In 2023, we have a test application. Now, if you see the sample, it was bigger. So for reading, at this time, it was 6th grade only because we were like measuring the profile of the students as they were going to start high school. So we had at least 4,000 people, 8,000 people, 7,000 people per skill. And if you see, I have 2 extra added things. Why? Because by 2023, we started with the speaking exam. About the speaking exam, I'll show you an image, but we developed an oral exam in which students talk with an artificial intelligence. It's an avatar. The avatar says, "Hi, welcome to the University of Costa Rica, an English test." And students have a conversation that lasts 5-10 minutes with the avatar, 5 minutes because it's elementary school. And then in real time, we get the results. I'll show them to you in a second. I have them here. I'll go back. So the results look something like this. We have the name of the person. We have the different frameworks that they are. So in our case, we use the CIFER, but you can have IELTS, TOEFL, TOEIC. And they tell the student what they got, how it's divided in terms of pronunciation, fluency, vocabulary, and grammar, and then they have descriptive feedback. So it says exactly what they said, the grammar problems they have, the vocabulary problems they have, the pronunciation problems they had. So with this, we could actually compensate the fact that we cannot have 10,000 people interviewing 10,000 students. It's impossible. So now, we could have 10,000 students taking the same exam, an oral exam, and receiving the feedback immediately afterwards. Now, writing was piloted in a version that was closed. What do I mean by that? It was multiple choice, drag and drop, because the writing at that time was impossible to rate. Okay. This one was applied again in 2024. This time the sample was smaller, and this also aligns with the fact that there was a change of government, and the government is the one that decides what to do in terms of education. So it's not something that we just do because we want to. It depends on the priorities of the government. So this year we had a smaller sample, and for 2025, we didn't have a real application for the TO. However, we are testing new tools for the future that could be useful for us. So, what are the lessons that we learned with all this? First of all, we have to be practical, and we need to communicate well. So we adopted tools that simplify the processes. So instead of having us like sending results to schools, schools sending the results to the teachers, we created a page in which parents could just use their password, that we gave the password to parents, and they could download the certificate of the kids, and also they could have the description in English and in Spanish of what the kids could do with the language and what they needed to develop. Why? And why in Spanish? Because at least in Costa Rica, we have a lot of parents that do not know a lot about the language. And the objective is not to have everything in English, it's to have accessibility for everybody, to be practical. So just imagine everybody coming to the teacher later, teacher, they gave me this, what does it mean? I have no idea. So it would be giving more work to the teachers. So with this, we made, like, we kept a few steps with this. It made it simple for us. WhatsApp became a great tool for us, and you'll say, well, WhatsApp, how come that you're using WhatsApp in an application of 8,000, 10,000 people? Well, because we made escalated WhatsApp. So we have the structure of MEP is there are like regional coordinators. So the regional coordinators were with us in a chat, and they had a chat with their teachers. So if there was a question, it escalated, we answered, and then before another one had the same question, it was answered to everybody. So that was one of the best things that we could have. Also, and that's why I was talking about the teachers and motivated teachers, because the teachers were the ones that were the most important person in the process, because they had to apply the test, and it was a test that was voluntary. They have to motivate their students, they have to explain it to parents. So because we had meetings with the teachers, but they really worked hard on this. We ensured that it was reliable since the very beginning, because they helped us with information, but also they help us have a very good environment, and they follow the protocols that we asked to the book. So that was something that helped us a lot. Also, the motivation and recognition. I don't know if you have noticed the mascot that we have there. Yeah, that is a Slotty. That is our sloth. Why is sloth? In the University of Costa Rica, we have sloths. They are hanging around. You're teaching, and you can see a sloth there. So we wanted something that was representative of the university. We chose this one, and then, like a year afterwards, it was also recognized by the government of Costa Rica, the sloth, as one official, a national animal of the country. Because after a hurricane, they found a sloth hanging on a bridge. It survived. So it is a symbol of resilience. But we chose it first. But it gives us a great meaning for everything. It's so representative because it was just for the elementary school exam. It is the mascot of the program now. And we have an older version for high school exams, because they grow up with the students that are taking the test. So that gave some ownership, and also it gave us some engagement. The exam is a game for students. So I always remember there's an exercise in which they see a house and they have 4 places to place, 4 rooms to place it, and they have to place like it was like a mirror in one of the places. And all the kids, because I saw this when they were applying it on the classroom, the first thing that they did was to try to put it on the roof. And of course it was not possible, but then they started with the listening, and they started placing the places where they should be. So since it felt like a game, it was low stress. We didn't have any problem. We have applied it over the years. We haven't had problems with students getting nervous, anxious, because we're going to take the exam, the game. They feel very happy and excited when they have this opportunity. Also because teachers have done, and this is something that happens in many schools, they give them extra recognition. So they give them an extra breakfast, or they give them candy, or they give them a gift because they completed the test. So they are usually really excited when they get it. Some classrooms even decorate with the slot that we have. So we have the identity. And also, let's see. We also have to build on experience. This thing of the oral exam, which is very, very convenient, was not originally designed for our test. It comes from a high school test that we had, because we also help in high school, okay? And it's also used now for test of people in Universidad de Costa Rica, Universidad Nacional. When they start in the first year, they have to take this test. And by taking this test, depending on the level they get, they could be exempted of taking certain courses. So that is something that we said, well, you already have it. Come on, we need it. So this has been very useful. It helps us that the cross-test collaboration is important. We have a lot of tests, but it's not that we just have the knowledge for us. We share it as it should be. So what about the future? We are working in a new version of the written test. Why? Because the test that I told you about was closed. And it's not really writing, right? So they are using the same system for the oral exam to create a writing exam. So we will have exactly the same sections in order to give students feedback, and that is going to be piloted in November with high school and with all the teachers of the country. So we are going to be grading teachers, assessing teachers, diagnosing teachers. Afterwards, we want to incorporate it in high school. Another thing that our director wants is to have the adaptive test. We have an adaptive test for diagnostic of first-year students. What is it? It's an intelligent test. So in the first question, depending on your answer, it decides if it gives you an upper level or a lower level. And then it takes decisions as you complete the exam. So you could have your English level in 8 to 24 questions in general. So this is something that we are also working on. That's the future for us. Innovation is key for language testing, right? Modernizing everything. And also aligning our practices with global assessment tests. So we are a very small country, but we are trying our best. And well, thank you for your attention, and pura vida.